Hey, what is up mortals, it is Robo Celestial here, and before we get into today's video, I would like to remind you all that this is a new channel, please like, comment and subscribe to get this channel going. Part 6 of What If Deku Had Boosted Gear from DxD. If you haven't watched the previous parts of this what if, please do. Links in the description below. Last time on Boosted Gear, Anazawa announced that they'll be holding the UA Sports Festival to show the world what you can do and get internships from pro hero agencies. The first event is a race the 11 classes have to race across various obstacles. Deku places first, easily Todoroki second, Bakago third. The next event was a cavalry battle where 4 students would have to make a cavalry and try to take the other team's headband. The top 4 will go on to the final matches. Deku teams up with Mei, Achoko, and Fumikage, which with their planning they easily made it to first place, with Deku's group comes in first, Todoroki's group in second, Bakago's group in third, and Shinso's group in fourth. The final event of the sports festival is a one-on-one tournament. The first round of the tournament is Shinso versus Deku. Shinso tries to get Deku to speak, but Drake talks instead, so he uses his mind control. Shinso commands Drake to attack Deku, but it doesn't work because he's a soul. He quickly tells Deku to finish him off, which he easily does. Later Deku learns about why Todoroki doesn't use his fire side because of Endeavor tells him about it. Deku asks Drake if he can use his balance breaker, which he says yes, but it will only last for 5 minutes. The matchup is Todoroki versus Deku. The first minute of the match is shaky, but Deku starts picking it up and starts to overpower Todoroki. Deku convinces you, saying he's not going full out Todoroki to use his fire side, but only if he goes full out. Todoroki uses his flame. Deku takes it head on with little damage. Drake acknowledges the powers of his flames. Deku powers up to his balance breaker, shocking the crowd by the sheer power of it. After a long battle, Deku comes out victorious. A couple of rounds later, Drake explains that he only has 3 minutes and 20 seconds left of his balance breaker, which will shorten even further because how tired he is, so he should finish off his opponents fast. Next matchup is Deku versus Lydia. Deku easily defeats Lydia even with his repifral boost. Deku down to a 1 minute and 45 seconds has to go against Bakago. Bakago and Deku fight for the final round. The intense battle quirks off, but Deku is able to get the win by using the smoke from his explosion to come behind for a sucker punch. The UA Sports Festival is over and All Might hand out the medals. Later that night, Deku is talking to Drake. Deku thanks him for all the help and support. Drake just says, "Don't mention it, after all, I'm just your tool for your own deeds." Deku says, "No, I don't think you're my tool, I think of you as a friend." Drake is trying to hide his joy from that. Drake says, "Partner, I got something to tell you. The White Dragon Emperor has unrisen in your world." Deku says, "What, I thought you said there were none." "Even so, how do you even know, and do you know who it is?" Drake says, "That was way earlier, but this happened just recently. I felt him being unleashed, and no, I don't." Deku asks, "Do we really have to fight him?" Drake says, "Yes, you will. It is the enviable future. There has been no emperor in history that hasn't fought the White Dragon Emperor at least once, even the friendliest of them. It's almost like it's faith." Deku says, "Well, internships with pro heroes are tomorrow, and we can use that to get stronger, so I can prepare for it." Next day, as Deku is walking to class, Drake says, "You know, it's kinda weird you have to go to a school to become a hero. The heroes we run into don't even follow the random crap you learn here." Deku takes a seat and Anazawa walks into the room saying, "You'll be deciding hero names with Midnight." Deku names himself the Heavenly Dragon. Midnight says, "Very nice and fancy." Deku goes back to his seat. Drake says, "Thank you for choosing a name that won't give me depression, unlike the other host before you. Everyone choose the same name, as in the anime," but then Bakago walks up and show the board saying King Explosion Murder. Drake laughs and says, "What kind of name is that?" Deku says, "Drag." Drake says, "Sorry, couldn't help it." Bakago gets pissed off and says, "You want a piece of me, scrap metal?" Drake says, "Sure, but it will be just like yesterday." Midnight says that's enough and sent Bakago to sit down and think of another name. Anazawa walks back in and says, "Thank you. Midnight knows we will be choosing your internships." Anazawa shows the chart of the offers with Deku and Todoroki with the most. Anazawa says, "You got by tomorrow to choose, class to dismiss." Deku walks down the hall with Lydia and Achoko when All Might dash in and says, "Young Midoriya, care to have lunch with me?" Deku agrees and heads off with All Might. They sit down and All Might says, "Hey, Drake, you sound just like me for some reason." Drag says maybe it's because we both have the same English voice actors? They all say nah and laugh it off as a joke. All Might says Gran Torino asked me, he's free to take in someone for help. I would have originally chosen my successor, but he isn't here at the moment so I'm choosing you. Deku says I'll take the deal, but what do you mean by a successor? All Might say I will tell you, since I trust you, but do not tell this to anyone, because that will endanger them, and even the world. Are you able to handle this? Deku says of course. All Might says long ago, a man with a quirk that could steal other quirks and give them away forcibly gave his seemingly quirkless little brother a quirk that allowed him to stockpile power within his body. However, unknown to them, the little brother already had a quirk with no effect other than that it could be transferred to others. The little brother's quirk and the quirk given to him by his older brother merged into one and became one for all. The little brother somehow discovered this. He had a strong sense of justice and he tried to defeat All for One, but given the huge difference in their abilities, the brother failed. The little brother decided to entrust a quirk to future generations of heroes, hoping that they would cultivate One for All and one day put a stop to All for One. Few knew the truth about One for All. The quirk was passed down through 9 generations, growing stronger with the passage of time. Currently One for All is one of the most powerful quirks in existence. Deku says it's kinda like how Drake origins and the past users of him too. All Might curious and asked Drake to explain his origins. Drag obliges because he told him and says first off I'm not a quirk, I come from a different universe from you all. In the past, I fought against my arch rival, the vanishing dragon, Albion, in a battle that was interrupted by the angels, devils, and fallen angels who were at war during the time. In anger, both of us dragons attacked the leaders of the 3 factions, which led to our bodies being destroyed and their souls being sealed into 2 separate sacred gears, with me moving into the boosted gear, a sacred gear that eventually became one of the 13 varieties of longinus. I've been wielded by many users just like your quirk. All Might says wow, well then I'll give you the address to Gran Torino for your internship tomorrow. Next day he arrives at Gran Torino's house and sees an old man on the floor with blood on the floor. Deku and Drake think he's dead but the old man gets up and says oops, I spilled my tomato juice. All Might says I would have a student come over, what's your name again? Oh right, Midoriya. Gran Torino asks to see Deku's quirk. Deku says it isn't a quirk but whatever. He says don't be silly, it has to be the Drake says I'm not a quirk, I'm a weapon called a sacred gear. Gran Torino starts to look at the shiny red gauntlet. Gran Torino says oh right, you were that kid with the red transformation thingy. I was watching the battles closely, it looked like you were very low on stamina, may that be a drawback of your power? Drake says yes, my powers are very powerful, but it requires an immense amount of training and stamina usage to maintain. Gran Torino says I see, we need to increase your stamina. How about a 10 kilometers, 12 miles, run every day with a little bit of help with your quirk, that sound good to you Drake? Also forgot to mention every day we add 1 kilometer. Deku says what, 12 kilometers a day? Drake says yeah, that'd be good, and Deku the previous user had to run away from the Blaze Meteor Dragon's flames. A dragon that's which was a dragon king and an ultimate class devil. For his training, you should be happy. Gran Torino says HMPH, now get going.